Day. Typically, a lot of people get engaged pag Valentine's Day or Valentine's night. So who among you got engaged yesterday or last night? Admit it, be honest, and email us. We want to know about that. Kababayan at la18.tv. But also for the specific purposes of today's show, meron tayong immigration update naman. We're going to be talking about fiancé visas and our American dream.
This American Dream segment is brought to you by Aquino & Low Law Firm, answering your immigration questions.
Allison Aquino, there is an increase in international relationships, and a lot of those lead to marriage.
There's a lot, actually. You know, just like a lot of people are dating or taking a look at on-site websites for dating here locally, internationally it's booming. You know, with the ease of travel, people can go and visit a lot more often, and communication as well. People can email. There's a lot of websites for, you know, tending to introduce people, and then people reconnecting on Facebook.
Yes, Facebook. Sounds good, though, but how about immigration? Where does immigration figure? And when we talk about fiancé visas, is that taking the romance out of, you know?
No, not at all. You know, it's what people need in order to be together. And so once you get past the butterflies and the roses, you do need to eventually talk about how are we going to live together. And so the fiancé visa helps facilitate individuals and their relationships and being able to start a family, essentially.
All right, let's talk about that. General requirements. What do we need for a fiancé visa?
So the general requirements for a fiancé visa are really fourfold. One is that the petitioner must be a U.S. citizen, so permanent residents are not eligible. Second is that they must have met in person within 2 years before the filing of the petition. Third is that they must naturally be in a legitimate and bona fide relationship. It can't be one just for the purpose of getting a visa to the U.S. And fourth is that both parties must be eligible to get married legally within 90 days of the individual's entry to the U.S.
Okay, I have questions about this. The first one is must have met in person within 2 years of filing. So, you know, some people, they rush or they think they're very sure after 6 months. Can they file?
They can. They can go ahead and file. Now, naturally, the issue in that situation is when it's such a short relationship, immigration's going to wonder how did you get to such a serious level in your commitment to one another as to whether it merits, you know, getting a visa and whether you truly intend to get married to one another.
Right.
Now, with that said, just because it's a short relationship doesn't mean that they're going to be denied a visa. It just, of course, means that they need to present a lot more documents showing the legitimacy of the relationship. And really, by the time the individual goes to the interview, they should really get to know each other, you know, a whole lot more.
For things like this, do you interview together?
Actually, the interview that takes place overseas at the embassy, generally speaking, it is with the person applying for the visa and not with the U.S. citizen petitioner.
Okay. So if I were in the Philippines and somebody applied for a fiancé visa for me, I can just go to the embassy by myself. I don't need my partner to be physically present with
Correct.
me? Okay. So the partner doesn't even have to go to the Philippines and pick me up? Or
not for purposes of the interview. By the time the individual enters the United States as a fiancé visa holder and then applies for the green card, that's when the joint interview is held.
All right. And then requirement number 4 is both parties must be legally capable of getting married within 90 days. Why is that? So issue of prior marriages, is that?
Well, the requirement is that once a person enters the U.S., that the two do get married within 90 days. And so in order for the fiancé visa to be issued, you need to prove that any prior marriages have been terminated either by death, divorce, or annulment.
All right. What about prenups? Prenuptial agreements. Does that complicate the fiancé visa?
Well, it doesn't complicate it, and in fact, you know, some people may want to go ahead and enter into prenups just because, just like any marriage, whether it's two people who are in the same country or in this situation, there might be concerns about finances, how you might split them up just in case the marriage doesn't work out. So it would be fine, and it is appropriate for people to enter into prenups.
So it's okay?
It's fine.
All right. What about the petitioner needing to work or make a certain amount of income?
That is another concern as well. Especially in this economy, there are some individuals who may not have jobs or their income is insufficient. And so for purposes of the fiancé visa, it is not a requirement for a person to have a job, and it's not a requirement for a person to have a specific level of income. Now, with that said, individuals need to fulfill an affidavit of support requirement, and so the government is concerned that the fiancé won't just come into the U.S., become a burden to the U.S. economy.
Right.
And so an affidavit of support from someone else might be needed.
Oh, okay, all right, but it's okay, even if, so I can petition, let's say I were, U.S. citizen, I can petition a fiancé from the Philippines without me having to work here, without me having a job here.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And so, but because you don't have work or may not have enough income, you need to have someone also filing their own, a joint affidavit of support.
Okay, all right, another question. How long does it usually take for the individual to enter the U.S.?
That's usually the greatest concern because they want to be together. And so the fiancé visa generally takes about 6 to 9 months for the person to enter the U.S.
Oh, why that long?
It's a two-step process. So
Okay.
there is a petition that has to be filed here in the U.S. first, and then the process back in the U.S. Embassy. And so because of that two-step processing, and then the need to also undergo a medical back in Manila, that's just the length of time that it takes.
So 6 to 9. Is there a backlog? Family-based petitions, there is a backlog. What about for this one?
There's not really a backlog. And in fact, the fiancé visas are being processed rather quickly in comparison to before.
Would it be better if we got married instead?
Again, another common question. It's not necessarily better, and in fact, it might be worse, because if you get married, the general processing time is about 12 to 18 months in order to enter the U.S., and so it takes longer for you to be together as a family. And then secondly, there are certain situations where if you get married, children of the individual overseas may not be included. And so that pretty much pertains to if the person overseas has a child between 18 and 21 years old, it would be definitely better to seek a fiancé visa than the green card based on marriage.
All right. There's so many questions, and that's the number to call on the screen in order for you to continue your discussion with Allison. We'll have to stop right now, though, because although it's still very interesting, I still have a lot of questions, but maybe next time. Maybe next Wednesday or Wednesday after that. For now, thank you so much, and belated happy Valentine's Day to you.
Same to you, Janelle.
AJ Raphael is up next on Kababayan LA. You wouldn't want to miss that. Don't go away.